Okay, so after my daily like calorie intake, daily lean bulking thing, people ask me how do I actually lean bulk, what things you actually need for lean bulking. So there's three main things you need to consider. You need to consider resistance training, you need to consider your diet, which is just a small caloric surplus, and number three, you need to consider a way to track your progress. Number three is quite underrated and I'll come to that later. So number one, let's focus on the diet first, because this is where I think most people slip up, because they don't know the boundary between lean bulking and just dirty bulking in general. I think that's where people get misconstrued and mixed up with that. So lean bulking, this basically means that you eat in a small caloric surplus. Caloric surplus, this means that you're eating above your maintenance calories. To work out your maintenance calories, measure your calories, the amount of calories you eat in a day for a week, and then see if you gain any weight. If you gain any weight, that means that you're probably eating more than your maintenance calories. If your weight stays the same, that means those are the calories that you expend every day, if that makes sense. So once you've got your maintenance calories, what you can do is then add 200 to 300 calories above that. But for some people, like when you're really like if you find it really hard to gain weight, you might want to add an extra like up to 500 to 1,000, but this is just experimental. For me, when I first started, it was up to 1,000 for lean bulking, but now as my metabolism's kind of slowed down, it's 200 to 300 for a lean bulk. So this place is like open to experimentation, so you have to find a way that when you increase your calories, you're gaining 1% of your body weight per week. For me, for example, 1% of my body weight, I'm 60 kg right now, so that's 0.6 kg of mass every week. If you're gaining more than that, then you probably need to reduce the caloric surplus. If you're gaining less than that, you probably need to increase the caloric surplus. But you also have to look at, in the first few weeks, you might gain a lot of water weight, because that's what I experienced, and that will slowly flatten out. So in the first week or two, you don't really want to judge to see if you're gaining a lot of weight, because if that flattens out after the second or third week, then you know that it's just going to be water weight. Once you've got that, that's just the diet sorted. Also, I'll recommend increasing your protein intake as well. I can make this very complicated, but if you want to go in depth with it, what I'd say is at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. Like that's like the upper echelon. So for example, for me, I weigh around 140 pounds, for example, so that means I need 140 grams of protein. This can be easily implemented with things such as protein powder, which I've recently bought, especially in my household, because we eat like mostly rice, it's mostly carbs, and most people I speak to as well, like they don't get enough protein, so getting additional like supplements is completely fine. So that's another thing you need to add for that. A method to use also is like when I'm lean bulking, I also check that when I don't longer see any visible abs, that's when I know I have to stop. I have to cut down on the pancakes or cut down on all the rice and the chicken. So when you have to set that boundary for yourself, because some people like don't have that. So when you feel like you're getting a little bit too large, you want to reduce the amount of calories, because it's all about the meal. If you're not feeling good about yourself, you're probably not going to be training as good as you want to be, because it's not worth it. If you're not feeling good about how the way you look, you probably don't want to gain any more weight. You probably want to slow down on the weight gain, or even go into a cut if you feel like you're satisfied with the amount of mass you have on you. Mass. Yes, sir. Another thing you can look at for the diet is that you don't need to be too overly concerned about what kind of food you eat. Just maintaining the protein level that I've specified is more than enough. I think people in this fitness community estimate the amount of clean eating. Of course, it's good to eat a bulk of your diet with good foods, but eating everything, eating just chicken, broccoli and rice every day is probably not the best thing for you if you're trying to lean bulk, especially because over time people are just gonna lose the motivation to actually like eat food if that's what they're eating. Find something you actually enjoy eating and that's somewhat healthy as well. So for example, I like making chicken wraps, and like I can put a lot of protein in that, and I find them quite tasty to eat, and that's a high source of protein. Find a food that you actually enjoy eating, so you can actually stick to like eating that on a regular basis, so it's easier for you to, like, let's say you're bored, for example, and you need like an extra 300 to 400 calories. It's more likely for you to pick up or make that food instead of going to eat something very unhealthy that does not have a lot of protein in general, if you get what I mean. That's the diet done. Next, we've got resistance training. I've spoken about this many times. Anything that has muscle in the title, I've spoken about this. Resistance training, you need progressive overload. It's simple, progressive overload. I've said this 20 times. I'll probably put a link or put some sub captions here to link to other videos, but I'm not going to go into depth into this as well because it's quite simple. Over time, increase the amount of force you're putting on a muscle. So what does this mean? Okay, let me give you a quick example. So let's say on the first week you're lifting 60 kg on the bench for, let's say, 10 reps. The next week you could increase that to 11 reps, and the week after you could increase that to 12 reps, and then the week after you could increase that to 65 kg for 10 reps. You understand what I mean? It's just increase the amount of exertion you're placing on the muscle over time, because this serves as a direct stimulus to make your muscle grow, because that's what you need. Because your muscle won't grow if you're like acting, if there's no reason for your muscle to grow, it will stay the same. It just makes sense. I'll link the videos that I've spoken about in depth, but I don't want to repeat myself many times, because that's all you need. In-depth stuff is it's not like required, but just trying to increase, especially for beginners, the in-depth stuff is not required, but just trying to increase the amount of load you place on the muscle on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis if you're more experienced is the key to building muscle. Next, we've got how to track your progress. This is something that I actually really struggled with, and when I talk to people about lean bulking as well, they struggle with this as well. Because you're lean bulking, the weight gain is not going to be significant, so you might feel like not motivated because you might not see that much progress, especially because muscle hypertrophy is a slow process as well, so you might not see progress on a weekly basis when you're trying to lean bulk. So the approach I took is to track my compound lifts. If I see my strength is increasing in those compound lifts, I know I'm on the right track, because if you're increasing in strength, that means your muscle has to adapt to the increase in the amount of load you have to lift, meaning that there's going to be an increased amount of muscle hypertrophy. So if you're not seeing any progress day by day in the mirror, because you won't see that with your lean bulking, I suggest tracking the progress of your compound lifts, so deadlift, squat and bench. So tracking those on a weekly basis. If you see progress in that, you're on a good track. But also, if you like, what I'll suggest as well, take progress pictures like every month, because you just don't want to be increasing in strength, because you could be messing up some other aspect, like for example, you're not eating enough of caloric surplus, or you're not eating enough protein. So take progress pictures once a month to check if you're actually making significant progress. I would not suggest taking progress pictures every week or every day, or look in the mirror every day, because you won't see anything. You understand? Little intermission. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to like, subscribe and share. I haven't really promoted my kind of stuff, so if you're enjoying it, I appreciate it. If you just like, subscribe. If you like this kind of content, just consider pressing the subscribe button and turning on post notifications for regular updates of weekly or more than weekly videos from my channel. Anyways, let's get back to it. That's putting it simply. I've rambled on for a little bit, but I had to just cover that because people were asking me how to lean bulk, and that's the approach I'm taking. If you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll answer everything. I'll like everything. I'm just trying to help people. So if that's basically what is for the video. If you're still here, I'm still waffling. I don't know why I'm still talking, but talking is fun, and I have nothing else to do. Actually, I have quite a lot to do at the moment, so I'm probably going to close off the video. Anyways, I appreciate you for sticking around. Take care. Peace.